Hey, it's James Lamar. I'm back with another video. How has everybody been? It's been a minute since I've been in, the setting of my home. However, I'm back off the cusp of an amazing trip with my best friend not too long ago, earlier this month. That was great, spending time with him in Clarksville, Tennessee. And it was great catching up and all that kind of stuff. So I'm so grateful for my best friend. But this video is actually about friends and my history with them. So basically, going back to, you can date this back to high school. At some point in time, I had gotten in contact with someone via MySpace. And I believe they contacted me, messaged. Eventually, we exchanged numbers and things of that nature. And excuse me. And basically, as we're like talking and texting and stuff like that, we're noticing that we have a lot of similarities. We have a lot in common. Honestly, at that time, I felt like I hadn't met anyone, as far as a guy that I had that much in common with or whatever. And keep in mind, I wasn't yet out in high school, of course, or hadn't yet acknowledged my feelings necessarily. But it just felt like home in a way. It felt so easy. It felt so comfortable. And I was just so happy to have, met someone who I resonated with, who my spirit resonated with, at the time. And I believe I was 17. So this is maybe like 2007 or so, or, 2006, 2007, somewhere around that time frame. And yeah, we got close, and I'd see him in school and say hello, during passing, through class changes and things of that nature. And, eventually, I guess, he allowed other people's opinions to determine how he was going to treat me. So I guess some people had said, oh, you're talking to James or whatever, like, he's gay or whatever, stuff like that. And so, he approached me on some stuff and was like, hey, are you, and I'm like, I mean, I'm just like, I am who I am, like, and basically he had asked me about some stuff and had, said, had I ever done anything or whatever? And I was like, no, but I guess he found out through someone else who became somewhat like my arch nemesis in high school, that I had sent a photo or something, which I'll reference in another video. And, and he was like, yeah, you told me that you hadn't done anything. And I'm like, I mean, that was it, you know what I'm saying? But it's not doing anything, a picture being sent. And basically, he basically made it seem like, the fact that I didn't tell him that, I had sent a photo, or that I had any attraction to, males or, guys or whatever, that it was a problem. It was a problem by him, and made it seem like I lied and all this kind of stuff. And I just didn't understand. Like, I'm like, what does any of this matter if we're like cool, if we're like, and if we become close? I remember we became close over like a 2-week period. And literally, like, this person seemed like, we had become like as close as like maybe possibly becoming best friends. But it didn't matter. He pretty much was done. And then this guy who was like my arch nemesis in high school, all of a sudden, like, I believe I was in his top 4 or 5 on MySpace. That was a big thing back then, MySpace, and having that top 4 or 5. listen, that was like the end all and be all to, who's your closest friends and stuff. And I remember, I believe I was up there at one point in time, and then I was replaced. I was replaced with this guy who was my arch nemesis. And I was like, I didn't understand. Like, I didn't understand what was happening, what was going on. And then all of a sudden, apparently they became really cool and close. But I'm like, but it's rumored around the school that this guy is gay too. So what difference was it that you're like now cool with this person and now you're not cool with me? Like, I don't understand the differentiation. But it was like, fuck me, that made me very emotional. That made me very, sad because I didn't understand, and then, as time went by in school, he walked past me as if he never had any communication with me, never talked with me, no anything. And that was really hurtful. That was really hurtful, And then, I had met someone at the job that I worked at, and later on found out that he went to the same school. And, I had become somewhat close with him too, or whatever. But make a long story short, the arch nemesis in high school, as suddenly, they become close, they become friends and whatever. And then it's almost as if another instance where I thought that me and another person were, developing a friendship, and this guy comes in and like literally befriends them, and they both kind of like are like, okay, peace out. Like, it's kind of like, again, it's like, fuck James, you know what I mean? And stuff like that I don't understand, and I don't get, and I don't do people that way. So I don't understand, it's hard for me to accept that. It's hard for me to be okay with that, because I'm like, I don't do people like this. So why would they do that to me? You understand what I'm saying? It's just, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And they become closer with this guy, and, he kind of stays cool with me, but it's like, it's never the same after that. It's never the same after that. So, my history with like friends, and, keep in mind, I had those abandonment issues from my childhood, and stuff like that. And I'm going through my adolescence. So with friends kind of like leaving my side, it's also like adding on to those abandonment issues, especially with guys, because it's like, again, like, guys didn't really want to hang around me, in my history, growing up. They didn't really want to hang around me. They didn't want to be around me like that, because they were, somewhat afraid of like what someone else would say, or what the other guys would say, or whatever, So I already felt like, outcasted. So now I'm in my teenage years, and I'm doing my best to navigate through those years. And I'm doing my best to, I won't even say I was looking for those friendships, but they just kind of developed and sprouted. And then it's like, I cherished them, but I felt like the other people didn't cherish them like I did, Then there's another instance where, me and this guy weren't necessarily friends. We were acquaintances. And basically, something happened with his car or whatever throughout the school year. And he suddenly had this bright idea to ask me, I had gotten a car at 17, thankfully. Thank you, Grandma, for your help with that. And, and I put my own money towards that as well. And so it was my first car. And, he's seeing that I'm driving to school and stuff like that. So he asked, can I start picking him up from his home or whatever in the mornings, and dropping him off or whatever, because until he gets his car repaired, that he's going to go ahead and give me gas money and so on and so forth, to compensate for my troubles and stuff like that. So mind you, when I would be getting ready to get up in the mornings, to go to school, I was backtracking because his neighborhood was more west than mine was. So I had to go out west first, go get him, and then, you know, kind of like pass by my house again to, you know, eventually go to school on the east because I went to Fort Lauderdale High, which is on the east side of town. And, you know, I did this so on and so forth, like so many times, so many days, you know, it became a routine, and I did it faithfully with the notion that this person would pay me back. And literally, like, I would ask sometimes, you know, hey, you know, when do you plan on giving me, you know, money for gas and stuff like that? And, oh, I got you, you know, XYZ, so on and so forth. So it's like, it became like a pattern, and eventually, like, I got tired of it, you know. I think he eventually got his car fixed or whatever, and he said that he was gonna, like, compensate for me, you know, the whole time that, you know, I had been taking him to school, and he never did, you know. And I felt like really used by that, you know. And I just was like, how do people, like, go about others, promising them things and knowing that the person has kept their side, like, of the deal, and it's like they didn't even make the deal, like they didn't even propose the idea, essentially the other person did, and then that person follows through on their end by helping them, and then the other person fails to, you know, do what they said that they were gonna do. I don't like, people are like fickle as fuck, like, to be honest. That's what I've learned in my 32 years. And so I felt really used by that. You know, I did that for a long time, and it was really like, that was really shitty. That was really shitty to do. And then, you know, then there was another friend or whatever, and basically he was this guy, like, there was this whole thing with cell phones and T-Mobile and so on and so forth, and he basically, like, would hook up people in school with, you know, paying for their lines and, you know, having their lines for free or discounted rates and stuff like that. And he'll be like, oh, just come over here, I'll hook you up, calling numbers and stuff like that. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. But, you know, at the end of the day, I never got involved with it because I'm like, I have T-Mobile, yes, but I can pay for my own bill. Like, I'm not looking to get no discount. It is what it is. Like, I don't want anything, like, I don't want to have to do with anything fraudulent. You know, I don't want anything to do with anything fraudulent. And so basically, you know, I was this guy's friend, and, you know, we'd be hanging out and stuff like that. And then apparently, like, at some point in time, a lot of people were looking for him or whatever, you know, post high school, because on their accounts, it reflected negatively and things of that nature. And, you know, basically all these people who were around him or who were cool with him or whatever, a lot of these people were no longer cool with him. And of course, I was there, I was around, and, you know, he went through a lot, you know, a lot of depressive stuff and, you know, things of that nature. And I was around, you know, I was around to be there for him and to, you know, uplift him and all that kind of stuff. And then meanwhile, at some point in time, he asked me for some money or whatever. He says that he's good for it, that his dad is supposed to wire him some money and XYZ, so on and so forth. Now, mind you, I had already done all these favors and these rides and different things of so on and so forth, was there for him. You know, I remember at some point in time, he got really emotional. He even cried and stuff like that. And I was there to, you know, make sure that he was okay. And meanwhile, you know, I asked for my money back, you know, eventually. And, you know, I'm like, you said that your dad was going to send it. You said that he was going to wire it and stuff like that. What's up? You know? And he's not like, he's like, oh, yeah, I'm good for it, you know, whatever. So eventually I'm like, hey, man, like, what's going on, you know, because, of course, more time is passing by and so on and so forth. So I'm like, what's going on? Like, I need my money back. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wasn't rich, but it's kind of like, if I'm cool with you and if you're a friend of mine, family member, whatever, if I got love for you or whatever, how I used to see it is that I'm going to be there for you, you know? I'm going to be there for my friends. I'm going to be there for my family, you know, and stuff like that, if I can in any way. But a lot of times it's been to my own detriment, because I've given my last at times. I have given my last at times to like help another bitch out. You know what I'm saying? Like, and people don't even understand stuff like that. And so, you know, he got to the point where he was like, oh, okay, well, take me up here to the check cashing store or whatever. I'm gonna do a payday advance. And I'm like, a payday advance? Like, I had never heard of a payday advance at that time. And I was like, okay. So, you know, I take him up there. We get in line, right? Man, the people say, sir, like, you can't take out another payday advance if you haven't paid for the previous one or whatever. If you haven't paid back the previous one. And I'm like, you know, I'm like, what the hell? Like, I'm kind of like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm sitting back like saying like, are you kidding me in my head? And basically, you know, after that, he's like, oh, I didn't know, you know, he's stuttering and stuff like that. And I'm like, nigga, like, you know, you bullshitting me right now. Like, you're really bullshitting me. And it's like, it's really like pissing me off or whatever. After that, I was just like, I'm good. Like, I told him, like I said, you know, the friendship is scarred at this point. And then it's like he laughed about it. He essentially, he did laugh about it. And I was just like, wow. By that time I was like 19. So I think this was 2009. And I was just like, yeah, I had been around for everything of him going through all the shit that he was going through. And none of that mattered, right? You paying me my money back didn't matter. You're a scammer. And you scammed me. It's horrible. Like, just whatever, you know? And, you know, these are supposed to be friends, you know? And so going throughout time, it's kind of like, man, like, people really can, like, shit on you, you know what I'm saying? And there was this guy that I had actually gotten cool with, you know, through my teenage years. I met him at the barbershop that I was going to at one point in time. And, you know, he had a child, he had a girl, you know, they had gone through some things or whatever, but at the end of the day, you know, they worked it out, whatever. And we were cool. And this was a heterosexual man or whatever. And basically, you know, I came out officially like around, what was it? 2012, if I'm not mistaken. No, it was 2013, like March 2013. And so on the cusp of like my 24th birthday, I believe. No, sorry. I think it was March 2012. No, March 2013, excuse me. Because I was 23, turning 24, if I'm not mistaken. Somewhere around that time, child. And basically I had told like my close friends and family, you know, at the time, and he was one of those people that I told. And basically, you know, I had gone to a birthday of his, and, you know, I guess some of his people asked, oh, like, what is he doing here? Like, is he gay? You know, a couple people asked if he's gay, so on and so forth. And I'm just like, okay, you know. And so once I told him, he was like, all right, so I was defending you at my birthday or whatever, and meanwhile you're telling me that the question that they had, you know, it was some truth to it. You know, he never told me that they were asking that question. He just said that he was defending me, and that's his dog, and like he was tired of people like asking him and stuff like that. So now the fact that I confirmed what they asked, you know, and he was defending me, he said, well, he can't be at another function or whatever, and maybe like have his people around or have anybody around, and they're asking if I am, because he's going to tell the truth, and he won't lie to his folks or whatever. So with that being said, because they're not cool with that, and essentially I guess because he's not cool with that in turn, that in so many words, the friendship can't continue. That was a lot for me. That was like the one person who I told who literally said like they can't continue being cool with me because of my sexuality. And that was really hurtful. I remember crying the whole way home after leaving him and his girl's place that time. And now that I think about it, I think that was 2012. So excuse me for mixing up the dates. But that was a lot. That was a lot. And again, I had been there for this friend. I had been there for children's birthdays. I had been there for his birthday, and and just for life events and so on and so forth. And none of that mattered, right? But because I was gay, that was the end all and be all, right? That's it, Again, people are fickle. So there's that, and there's a few other guys that I've become like close with, in being, gay at this point. I was gay, but in being out and now meeting like, gay friends and so on and so forth. And again, like, one of those individuals I had gotten really close with, we ended up working at the same job at some point in time. And, we were really cool hanging out outside of work and going here and, going to clubs and bars and different things. And then, eventually he meets this guy, and, they become cool. And that, of course, we all wanted love, right? We all wanted to be desired. We all wanted to be in a relationship. And, he falls head over heels for this boy, which is fine. But my problem is, don't forget your friends. Regardless if you get in a relationship or whatever it may be, do not forget your friends. Do not forget the people who have been there for you, who have been there through the ups and the downs and been around and stuff like that. Don't do that, and that's exactly what he did. When he met his boyfriend, it's like he forgot about me. Abandonment. You see the recurring theme, it's like, it just doesn't feel good, it doesn't feel good. And I'm just like, I'm so like tired of people, I'm so tired of dealing with, flaky ass people. It became tiring, you know what I'm saying? That's why I was so happy to meet my best friend Eric, because my goodness, between all of the friendships that I've had with, guys and then on top of that, gay guys, he's been the one who's been there and been consistent and been around and never switched up on me, like, ever. And I appreciate that, because I have seen a lot, and a lot has, come my way, you know what I'm saying? Dealing with folks and dealing with people. It's crazy, you know what I'm saying? Whew. And then there was the guy that I became close with from high school, post high school, whatever, and eventually he just disappears in a way. And, then around the time, like I said, when I came out, the guys who I was hanging out with, I was there during their relationship woes and stuff like that. But then the moment that I came out and I needed someone, and I needed a friend and someone to lean on, because, like I said, once I told my grandmother and my mother or whatever, my grandmother took it hard. No, he was nowhere to be found. So again, I had to deal with something like on my own, when everybody can lean on me, when everybody can depend on me, when everybody can, seek my help for coming through for them, you know. But when it comes down to James needing something, he's always forgotten about. He's always abandoned. No one gives a fuck about James. James will be all right. You know, it's always like, it was like that for a long time. It was like that for a long time. You know what I'm saying? And thankfully, you know, I feel like this group is started called Black, which I spoke about before. And then, you know, it's the group to promote love, togetherness, positivity in the LGBT community, you know, in the southern region down here in Florida or whatever. And, you know, for the first time, I kind of started to feel like I was meeting a lot of people and being able to hang around a lot of people that were like me, you know, that were young, Black, gay males, you know, and it felt good. It felt safe. It felt nice. And out of that group, I was able to meet, you know, a friend, you know, and we ended up becoming really close and stuff like that, which they ended up becoming my best friend as well. And that friendship went on for some years, you know, excuse me. But yeah, eventually within that friendship as well, you know, I started to see where people like to have control over me, where people like to try to, you know, tell me what to do, tell me, you know, how to talk, tell me, you know, about how to, you know, how to go about the game when it comes down to, you know, guys and talking to guys and stuff like that. And some like a lot of that stuff didn't resonate with me, you know what I'm saying? And then the sense of being controlled and, you know, a lot of games were played, a lot of emotional manipulation type of tactics were used and stuff like that in the latter part of that friendship. And you know, I learned that this person had some narcissistic ways about themselves or whatever, which really wasn't okay, you know. And I'm probably gonna be ending this video soon. This is probably gonna be like a two-parter. But yeah, that friendship officially ended last year, like the summer of last year or whatever. They came back around, you know, a year plus later, after banging on me, after hanging up in my face, literally never apologizing for that. And after I had been there for that friend, after I sent money to that friend when they were in need, after that person always had a place to stay when they came into town because they didn't live here. So, you know, they would always have a place to stay whenever they came, had a key to my place and everything. Because like I said, like I treat friends like family once, you know, I'm close enough to you. Once I feel close enough to you, I really do. I treat people well. I treat people really well. But, you know, again, none of that matters, right? You know, none of that matters. At the end of the day, it's like you're going to treat me however you feel about me, right? So, yeah, that friendship ends, and when you try to come back around, I really wasn't having it. You know, you wanted to make it seem like everything was, it almost like you wanted to pick up where things left off or whatever when it was like good and stuff. And it's like, we're not doing that. You left my life for a whole year. And it wasn't the first time that you abandoned me. It wasn't the first time that you know, wouldn't speak to me for months at a time and then all of a sudden show up. You know, it wasn't the first time you would get upset with something that I said, when more than likely I was being real with something that I said. And, you know, when I started to stand up for myself and when I started to speak up for myself, that's when things became problematic and it became issues and it became, or I'm not going to talk to this person, but then I'm just going to show up out of nowhere when it comes down to certain events and certain things. It's emotionally abusive. And it's not okay because I don't do people like that. I just don't. So yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and end this video now. Because there's going to be a second part to this. And then the second part is definitely going to dive deeper into somewhat the most traumatic friendship that I've had to date in my life. And so I appreciate you guys tuning in once again to the King James Version. Thank you for all the returning supporters and thank you for the new supporters. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for taking your time out to listen to me and to watch my video. Again, if you would be so kind to go ahead and click that like button for me, that would be great for my videos to continue to get in the YouTube algorithms for others to view and for others to, you know, listen to or whatever. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It's going to help my channel grow. I'm looking forward to the growth and everything. And you can also sign up for post notifications, you know, to know whenever I post a new video. You just hit that bell that's on the side of my name underneath the video. Again, I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you and peace out.